Hey guys, welcome back to more HOA stories. In this video, an HOA tried to bully me off land I owned before they even existed. Their homeowner association enforcement officers kept trespassing, so I put up a clearly marked electric fence. They grabbed it anyway, and it was absolutely shocking. Let's dive right into the video. So I was never big on revenge in the past, but something about this HOA just seemed to bring out the worst in me. I just wanted to work on my farm and live my life without all the crap they bring to the table. Anyway, I am an independent kind of guy, and aside from hiring a few people to help when crops are done, I basically do everything myself with taking care of the farm and the animals. Some might call it lonely, but I call it peaceful. I've had my farm years before an HOA even existed in this town. They are pretty much just in a near lease subdivision which my farm is not even a part of. I never signed papers to join the HOA or anything like that, but that did not stop them from thinking my farm was unsightly to their neighborhood. As if my farm was not there first. But anyway, they started to send me crap in the mail demanding I make a bunch of changes, some to follow their rules and others they were claiming were just inherent rules I needed to follow, meaning telling me to do whatever they wanted. Now, yes, on paper they were not asking me to do anything crazy, they wanted me to change my fence, update my barn, and pretty much just totally aesthetic stuff, not get rid of the entire farm like I've seen before in stories here, but I politely and firmly told the HOA that I was not gonna be making any changes to my farm. I liked it exactly how it was, and I didn't need to make it upscale to match their subdivision. It was a farm after all, it was gonna look like a farm. A coat of paint was not gonna change that, and now I cannot prove it was because of me or not, but I wanna say the HOA board creating enforcement officers was because of me responding no to them. These guys took themselves way too seriously. Black polo shirts with patches that said HOA enforcement, like they'd ordered them online, and thought it would make them look like real cops. They are really about 4 steps down from mall security if you ask me. They did have balls though, I will give them that. They waltzed right into my property like they owned the place without permission. Clipboards in hand and just making notes about everything they didn't like. I've had actual state farm inspectors that took things less seriously than these 3 guys. I think the HOA wanted to intimidate me in the dumbest way possible. I saw them when they started, and by the time I made my way over to them, they already were taking photos of my barn and fields. I told them to stop taking pictures of my private property and get the hell off of it while they were at it. They started lecturing me about code violations. Me, if you think I'm breaking state codes, report me to the actual government. But if you're thinking that I'm breaking your dumb HOA codes, then I can tell you somewhere to put those clipboards. Either way, this is my property and I want you off of it now. They left, but it was not without laughing at me, and it wasn't the last time I saw them. The trespassing seemed to happen almost every week now, sometimes just one guy, sometimes a couple of them. They would want to wander into every part of my farm, not even thinking about the fact it could be dangerous. One time they got into my pasture, and like, what if I had a horse out there that got angry and stormed them? Funny, huh? And yeah, it would have been hilarious, but would I have gotten into trouble? Also probably. I was taking pictures of them on my property and documenting the dates of things, but I just didn't want to escalate it too much. I really felt they would get bored and stop or walk into some cow manure and just decide to screw off, and then I caught them trying to rattle against a gate one day, and I really just had it with them. Behind the gate were going to be goats. Have any of you seen an angry goat before? Not pretty. When I saw them rattling that gate, I lost whatever patience I had left. That was really the line for me. It's one thing to stomp around with clipboards pretending they are running a property inspection, but it's another to start messing with my livestock. Goats might look funny on YouTube, but in real life, they will headbutt you straight into next week. If those idiots had gotten in there and gotten injured, I would have been stuck dealing with animal control or even worse. No chance I was letting them push me into that corner. That night I sat down with a beer, pulled up my laptop and started looking into things. I wanted to know exactly what my rights were. Could I legally keep people off my land without worrying about them crying foul? Since I'm agricultural and the fencing would be properly marked, I figured I was well within my rights. Electric fencing has been used on farms forever around here, and my dad always told me as long as you warn people properly, you are covered if they ignore it. And by the way guys, just to quickly interject here, if you would have had to deal with these insane HOA idiots, would you have also put up an electric fence or would you have done something different? Let me know in the comments, and please don't forget to like the video if you want to support me. Thank you so much. Either way, I still wanted to double check. The very next weekend I went to work, I already had some old fencing around parts of the pasture, so I upgraded it with a proper electric line. I bought a stack of bright yellow "Electric fence, do not touch" signs and zip-tied them every 10 feet or so. Couldn't miss them if you tried. Even painted the posts a brighter color just in case. I didn't want to be sneaky about it, I wanted it plain as day to stay away from my property. It did not take long for the black uniform clowns to make their next appearance. I was out by the barn stacking hay bales when I saw two of them strutting up like they owned the place. They walked right past a "No trespassing" sign on my driveway, clipboards in hand, sunglasses on, all serious business. I watched from a distance, wishing I had popcorn for the show. One guy marched right up to the goat pasture. He literally leaned over the sign that said "Electric fence" and grabbed the top wire like he was testing it. The jolt sent him stumbling backwards into the other guy, and both of them ended up on the ground in a heap. But it gets even better here. The first guy scrambled up, clearly embarrassed, and tried to brush it off. You could tell he didn't want to admit that he was dumb enough to shock himself. His buddy came over to help with the gate latch, and wouldn't you know it, he grabbed the same wire, trying to steady himself. 2 for 2 on the electric fence. The first guy's hand was red and he was shaking it out, muttering something about how I should have made the signs bigger. I don't think either was seriously hurt or something, since electric fences are designed to be safe, but it definitely got their attention. The other guy finally had the sense to drag him away, but I was just standing there laughing my butt off. I took a few photos during the entire thing and couldn't help but yell after them that next time maybe they should learn to read a sign. Now here's the kicker though, about a week later I got a letter in the mail from the HOA board, and they actually tried to accuse me of setting traps for their officers. I had a lawyer friend look over some things just in case the HOA tried to sue me despite the signs. When I told him what happened, he couldn't stop chuckling, said that they didn't have a leg to stand on, especially with all my warning signs and the fact that they were trespassing in the first place. That pretty much ended the enforcement visits though. They still sent a few more letters over the next couple months, but no more surprise inspections on my property. The guys in the black shirts never showed up again. I heard through the grapevine though that the whole enforcement division got quietly disbanded after a few people in the subdivision started complaining about the HOA wasting money on fake security guards. Eventually even the letters stopped coming, and after that life went back to normal. My goats stayed safe, my farm stayed mine, and the subdivision kept to itself. I've heard a few people around town saying that I put up that fence because I was some crazy hermit, but I don't mind being the local legend who shocked some sense into the HOA. I don't feel bad about them getting a little jolt, since I gave fair warnings in bright colors and they just chose to ignore it. Maybe they thought their cool uniforms would protect them from electricity, but honestly, I think those zaps were way less dangerous than what would have happened if the goats had gotten to them. In the end, I got my peace and quiet back, and they got a shock they'll never forget. Sometimes the best revenge is not complicated, it is just letting people learn the hard way not to mess with a farmer who knows his rights and is not afraid to defend his property. And the next one is another fantastic malicious compliance story that is titled "The End to a Free Decade of Netflix." Between 8 and 10 years ago, I received an email welcoming me to Netflix. That was a bit concerning since I had not signed up, so I contacted the company. They told me someone must have accidentally used my email when they created an account. Our last names were the same and our first initial as well. I said, "Oh, no problem. You must have additional contact info for them besides my email. Could you please remove my email from the account and let them know so they can fix it?" Well, immediately that was a big problem for Netflix, and well, no, they couldn't remove the email because it was the only one they had for the account, and how did they even know that it was mine? I said, "Give me your email address and start talking. I will email you the words as they come out of your mouth." That was unfortunately not good enough for proof, somehow. More likely I was in the other person's Gmail account asking to not have Netflix. What they finally ended up doing was changing the account password so that when the customer went to log back in, they would not be able to and would need to do a password reset by calling Netflix, and then they would confirm the email address. I kept getting Netflix emails, so that didn't work. I called again, same again, didn't work. I changed the password several times myself because I could use the forget password function and get an email to reset it, but that didn't work either. I don't know how they kept getting the new password without updating an email, and I didn't really care at this point. For the last 8 to 10 years I've had Netflix on everything I own. I have signed in on hotel televisions, used it on my phone, my Xbox, my kid uses it. I only ever have signed in under family and told him to do the same. The entire history in family is us, the other logins, Fred, Softy and Lila, accumulated history. I would occasionally look because, well, I'm curious, never did a single new show appear in the Family Watch history that wasn't because of me. Well, I woke up this morning to an email from Netflix telling me that this email was no longer associated with that account and if I had any questions, etc. Well, thank you, Softy. It has been an amazing run and I'm not sure why you gave me free Netflix for the last decade, but I think you're amazing. And the next one is a beautiful petty revenge story and it is titled Badmouth Me and assume I don't speak the language. I will kill you with kindness. So, I'm a light-skinned Latina American and I lived in Korea for a couple years during university and grad school as my major was Korean interpretation and translation. During my time in Korea, I was lucky enough to attend music shows from time to time. For the K-pop uninitiated, music shows are free to enter provided you have at least one of three items. A copy of the album of the group you're coming to see. B, proof of the purchase of the album digitally on one of the approved music vendors in Korea. Or C, the official light stick from the most recent concert. Priority entry was always given to official fan club members who had all three, then fan club members who had two of the three, and then fan club members who had one. After that came non-members in the same priority tier. The group I had come to see had not opened official fan club registration in almost a decade, so the group's management decided to do away with the fan club priority and did it on a first-come, first-served basis. But kept the whole three items go first, then two, then one thing. I had all three and I got there early, so I got a good spot in line. These queues often had us waiting outside for hours while the previous round of filming finished up. The thing about these music show venues is they are very small, they have limited capacity and allow 2 to 3 groups fans in to watch them film at a time, so not all people who queue for a group get in. In this particular instance, there was trouble with foreign fans causing trouble by taking pictures, not listening to instructions, so the venue staff literally went through and quizzed each foreigner in line on their Korean. If you could not understand, you were booted. I passed with flying colors and kept my spot in line, but here's where the revenge starts. Because of the aforementioned issues, a lot of Korean fans hated international fans with a passion. For this group in particular, so many people were pissed that they had to wait in line behind foreigners because they had done away with the official fan club priority. Now here's me though, sitting alone in a queue outside on a hot summer day, a group of Korean girls in front of me and a lone Korean girl talking on her phone sat behind me. I was just minding my own business playing games on my phone after passing my Korean quiz with the staff when I heard the girl behind me talking crap. She was chatting with a friend, I suspect, because she was dropping a lot of curse words and specifically mentioned, "These foreign roaches ruining things for us, I wanna kill them." She mentioned me in particular and said that she bet I had bribed the staff to keep my spot in line, even though I couldn't understand Korean. Okay, so it's harmless crap talk, I don't know this girl and I don't know her friend. In the long run, it doesn't affect me, right? But it really rubbed me the wrong way, especially because she was talking quite loudly, so I grabbed my wallet, politely and quietly asked the Korean girls in front of me to watch my bag and hold my place in line. I went to the convenience store. I had bought a round of water for everyone, it was heavy, I had about a dozen bottles of water. I get back to my spot in line, thanked the girls in front of me for holding my spot, and then gave them each a water. I gave a water to the group in front of them too, and then I kept one for myself and turned around and handed one to the girl on the phone with a smile. Immediately she lit up and thanked me in English, smiling bright and taking her phone away from her ears. As I hand her water, I say in perfect Korean and still smiling, "The next time you loudly crap talk the foreigners, make sure they cannot actually understand you." And when I tell you it went silent in the immediate area, you could hear a pin drop. Her smile melted off her face faster than an ice cream cone on Florida pavement. She turned beet red and muttered to her friend on the phone that she had to go and sheepishly apologized. I accepted she had water and I felt better about myself. Bonus, by the way, the girls in front of me heard the whole thing and adopted me into their group for the day. Fun was had all around. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. And the first one is a malicious compliance story. So I work in the distribution center for an electrical appliance brand. I'm a forklift operator. We use fork trucks to transport smaller appliances on pallets, such as microwaves and vacuum cleaners, but we use counterbalance trucks with clamp attachments for transporting large appliances such as washing machines and fridges. Our fridges can be packed 2 different ways. Sometimes they're in boxes with polystyrene for protection, and sometimes there's just plastic over the polystyrene. The plastic packaged fridges are slippery and can sometimes slip from the clamps, while the boxed fridges don't slip easily because there's more friction. This is actually important to the story. So this morning I was tipping a container full of fridges. They were all plastic packed. To fit as much as possible on the container, the loaders put fridges lying on their side on top of fridges that are standing upright. These top fridges can be fiddly to take out, and once out they are placed on what I call the flipper, which is a pile of pallets stuck together with a flat board stuck on top. We use the edge to rotate the fridge upright. As I was taking one of these top fridges out, it slipped within the clamp. I still had a hold of it, but it was now at an angle with the top pointing towards the ground and now almost impossible to put down without damaging it. We don't get in trouble for damages. Management accepts that stuff gets damaged sometimes. Also, most damages are just to the packaging, so they just need to be repackaged. However, we try to save something if we can. This was not one of the times where this would be likely though. One of my coworkers still wanted to save it and was standing behind the flipper ready to grab it. He told me to open my clamps slightly and let it fall slowly. This only works with boxed fridges. There's no friction to stop or slow down a plastic wrapped fridge, even with the tiniest amount of slack. Where he was standing, he was in danger of being hit by the fridge, and I told him so. The other guys chimed in and told me to let it go, and I refused until he moved away, which he finally did. As predicted, I opened my clamps the tiniest amount and it dropped fast, with the back end bouncing upwards right to where his face would have been. Had I maliciously complied, he might have ended up with a broken nose or jaw. "Told you so," I said. Despite the drop, there was minimal damage, just a small crack in the polystyrene. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm not sure if this qualifies as malicious compliance. I would rather say it is benevolent disobedience or something like that. I suppose that would be preferable compared to maliciously complied manslaughter. Getting a fridge dropped on your face is certainly nothing to joke around with. Anyway, the next one titled HOA stole electricity from my beach house. An HOA really assumed they could steal my electricity, and I just would not question that fact when I got the bill in the mail. I would give anything to see if they gave the idea more than 3 seconds of thought before just barreling into a plan that dumb. I'm not always at this house because it's my beach home and I mainly go there for vacations in the summer. My siblings all use the house, but it's in my name, so the bills come to me. Usually at this time of year, the place is empty and things like water and electricity are very small bills since nobody is there using it. Even when it is in use, the most I've ever seen the electric bill go up to was around $200 when a ton of us stayed there for a long summer holiday. I actually called the company wanting to know if this was a mistake because when I opened the bill, it was for $2,000. 10 times the max amount I've ever paid. They confirmed that it was correct, and I knew that I had to go down and try to figure out what was using that much electricity. It was a 4-hour drive down to the property, and at first glance everything seemed normal. That was until I noticed wires running out of my backyard and under a fence. I'll admit that it was probably trespassing, but I started hopping a couple fences to see where I ended up. Behind my house was one owned by an HOA board member, and then the next fence jump led to the community center run by the HOA. The wiring was hooked up to both the house and the building, which was now making the large bill make sense. The HOA and I always had problems because I spent years refusing to join them. I did not live there year-round and saw no point in spending money on it. I had enough people bothering me in life, I did not need to add an HOA to the mix. They also knew when the house was not occupied and probably figured they would get away with this crap until I got back home. I went into the center to try and talk to the HOA president, who I know is always there. I had a huge fight at the front door because they didn't want to let me in the building due to not being a member. He was basically trying to hide, but I was not going to have it. I told the person running the center that if he did not let me in to talk to the president, I would call the police. I saw him quickly after that and asked him why the hell they were taking electricity from my house to the center. He started making up crap about how that was not true and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, I took photos of all the wiring, so even if he destroyed the evidence, I was good to go. I told him that I wanted the $2,000 for the bill and for the setup to be removed right then and there. He refused to do so, and while I could unplug this from my house, I could not force him to give me the money. Not without a big fat lawsuit, and you can bet I did not hesitate on that front. I got a lawyer and explained everything and that I was looking to get my money back. This lawsuit was a little bit messy because it involved the HOA as a whole, but also the specific member living in that house and the community center director as well. Also all members of the board, so it was not too complicated, but still a bit of a mess when it came to who exactly owed me what. Now in court, the president was trying to argue that they did not steal my electricity, but instead just enacted one of the HOA clauses, claiming that due to emergency they had to reroute power to places in need. Excuses being that the community center was helping the elderly and that the house needed power for somebody on life support. Also, the money for the electric bill just needed to be filed, and then I would get the money back in way of not owing any dues. There were so many holes in that story, and even the judge was quick to point out most of them. They had zero proof that there was any outages in the area causing a loss to begin with, and they also had no statements of people needing life support or that the center was designated for elderly care. All of which are needed in order for them to be able to do something so drastic. Then my lawyer felt right then was the perfect time to point it out to the judge that I was not even a member of this HOA. Then they offered the following. They wanted to pay me back by not having me pay dues that I already did not pay, obviously by not being an HOA member. The HOA president was not looking as smug as when he walked in, and neither did any of the other board members. Judge, you're telling me that this man is not even a member of the HOA, and that you, without his knowledge, consent, or just cause, used his electricity and tried to stick him with the bill. Do you have any reason that I shouldn't give him the money and ask police to start an investigation into you all? HOA lawyer, they have never been in trouble with the law before. The man's non-HOA position was possibly not known to them. Aside, there's no proof that the entire bill was for my client's use and instead could have come from the house. Judge, the house that nobody was living in based on what your clients just told me. The burden of knowing if he was an HOA member was also on your client before they did anything. I'm granting the full amount of $2,000. Aside from getting my money, he did alert the police to look into the HOA and make sure nothing criminal was going on. It turned out there was plenty going on that went against the law they would have kept getting away with if the police did not dig into them. Taking funds for themselves, making rules that went against people's freedoms, etc. They ended up getting shut down and all the board members got in some trouble with the law. Not sure exactly, since I was not part of that and was not around for much of the backlash. I just know that the next time I went to the vacation house with my family, the HOA did not exist anymore. They probably could have kept getting kickbacks and cheating the system in small ways for years if they did not get greedy and try to steal electricity from me. Hell, if they just gave me the bill money when I first confronted them, I might not have sued. HOAs will just keep being stupid and getting shut down for it due to messing with the wrong people. And the next one is a fantastic petty revenge story that is titled, "Your friends won't stop parking in my driveway?" Congrats, your parents know that you vape at 16 now. So, my neighbors have a teenage son whose friends keep parking in my driveway. I went to check my mail last week and saw them all out front and decided to nicely bring it up, which was met with eye rolls and fake okays. Monday comes around and I come home to find 3 of his friends taking all the space I have to park. It was a 14-hour day for me, so I was not having any of this and made my second approach with intention to make myself very clear here and said I would make it the neighbor's son's problem. Tonight I get home and it's happened again. I went next door and an adult finally answered. I brought up the cars at my place and added a side note, their kid never expected. He has also been throwing his disposable vapes in my yard and I have the other neighbor as a witness. So I casually asked them to make sure that stops as well, and the instant change in expression told me everything I needed to know after I walked away. Well, shortly after the Herf's friends left, I can assume they probably won't be back for a while. Happy spring break, kid. And yeah guys, thank you for watching, please don't forget to subscribe and I will see you again tomorrow.